Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. Welcome to the Artcast.
Yes, and guess where we are?
Our favorite place.
Walla Walla.
Walla Walla.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
We are having a blast so far.
Yep.
I mean, we are staying at Sleight of Hand Winery. Shout out to Trey and Holly and
the team and Steven.
And Steven.
Oh, he was so
He
cute.
might be our favorite so far.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, there was a wonderful concert last night.
Mm-hmm.
The Tom Petty
Tribute band.
Tribute band. Great.
They're called Petty Fever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have pooped out early, but I heard them from inside our house.
I think we all pooped out early.
I know.
Except for Kristen.
Yeah,
because Kristen's diehard.
I know, she is a diehard. It was so much fun.
So much fun.
If you haven't been to Walla Walla, you got to check it out.
This is going to be our annual...
Yeah, we got to do it.
Our annual podcast retreat.
Yeah, it's definitely a must. Mm-hmm. It's a must.
Yeah.
So what else is going on, Allie Wally?
Well, you know, I was recently reflecting on, because you are an actress.
Yes.
Or were.
Correct. Yeah, because I'm in retirement.
Because you did sign a contract that you're never doing that again, so we're holding you to that. But
I did.
One of my favorite roles of you was when you played Mama Rose in Gypsy Rose Lee.
In Gypsy.
Or Gypsy.
Yeah.
It's just called Gypsy.
I know.
And yeah,
Thank
you were great. You were great. And it was, I know it was
It was hard.
A very
it was a difficult
huge role. Yeah.
I have to say, one of the hardest I've ever done. And
I would go and actually help you learn your lines.
I know. I had more lines than I ever wanted.
I'm like, are you serious?
I'm still talking. I'm like, can't somebody else share the lines for Pete's sake? But I will say it was a great show to do. Lots of singing and just finding out a little bit about Gypsy Rose Lee was amazing. And her mom was crazy. There's a great book. You should read her memoir. They went through a lot.
They kind of touch on that in the show.
A little bit,
sure
but it's definitely like kind of how movies are. They kind of like embellish a lot of things and kind of they almost make her a little sympathetic in the musical where she's not quite as bad as she really was.
Oh, right.
But Gypsy Rose Lee is one of like the top 20 most famous burlesque dancers in the history. She was raised in this family, and she, because of her mother's guidance and her influence in the vaudeville scene, because it was huge in vaudeville, she was inspired by this famed stripper Hinda Wasow. I don't think I'm saying that right. She transitioned burlesque into a sophisticated art form. Lee headlined an iconic venues such as Minsky's Burlesque and the classic Casino de Paris in New York.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now, isn't Moulin Rouge kind of a burlesque thing, too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Okay.
When I turned 50 and my dad turned 80, we went to Moulin Rouge in Paris. The most fun I've ever had in my life with my dad. And I will, it almost, okay, I'm not going to cry.
Oh, yes, you will.
But it was the most fun because we were first in line. He goes, we got to get there early because that's the way my dad is.
Yeah.
Kind of like me. We got to follow the rules.
Yes.
Okay. But we got to be first in line. So we get first in line and we are the first table on the corner where the stage lifts and literally the boas and boobs are right in front of our face.
Oh, my God.
My dad loved it. And the very first boobs and the boa, and I'm like, I'm just like, and I'm like, waiter, more.
Oh, my God.
I was just like, oh, this is a lot for me, because
that's the way I felt that one burlesque show we went to in
But it took like two performances, and then I was like, cool. Oh, here's a boa, and she's swimming with this, like a snake.
Yeah.
In the water right next to us, and my dad's like, isn't this great?
You mean it was a real boa?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Like a snake.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there was again, lots of boobs, but lots of singing.
Yeah.
And he's like they're great singers, aren't they? I was like, yes, Dad, they are. But it was just, I just love his whole reaction. You should, next time you see my dad, ask him about the Moulin Rouge.
Okay,
it was
I will.
a highlight. It was so great.
Yeah.
But speaking of, it's a burlesque style show.
Right.
I think it's completely
And
based on
burlesque is an art form.
It is.
Yeah.
And we actually saw burlesque recently.
We did in Coeur d'Alene. It was my first time.
It was your first. It was my second.
And yep.
Yeah.
So we are here with Holly.
Yes.
And Holly is a burlesque dancer.
Yes.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
So
Well, I want to hear a little bit about you and how you got into this.
So I have been performing as Holly Dolly as an individual burlesque artist since 2019. In the Seattle scene is where I really got started. I had an amazing mentor, Holly Bordeaux, who now is an amazing artist over in France, living the best life ever.
Oh, wow.
that's cool.
Along with many other mentors in Seattle, as well as my instructor in Tri-Cities, who introduced me to burlesque style dancing probably, over a decade ago in Tri-Cities. Started out as a, part of a troupe that just performed synchronized choreography together very beautifully, and then kind of evolved into real burlesque. And I say real burlesque, there's all sorts of burlesque that is real burlesque, but for me it was my burlesque story that I wanted to tell on stage. So yeah, I've been doing that for going on 7 years now. It has been such an incredible and rewarding journey to become more confident in myself as a burlesque artist and become more confident in the stories that I am telling on stage. I also have a very professional life that I've always lived. I have a professional career. I do things outside of burlesque, and I would say that my sanity is truly dependent upon being able to express myself in this way. It's kind of a hidden talent, so to speak. A lot of times when people first meet me, they don't know that I'm a burlesque artist or that or don't assume that I would be doing something like that. So for me, it's a very sacred expression and worthwhile journey for me to be able to keep this going for as long as I truly can.
Yeah. Well, here's one of the impressions that I got at the one show when you came up to Coeur d'Alene, and I think there were like 5 or 6 of you dancers. And the thing that was most impressive to me is the bigger bodies and the confidence,
The
that
body
you display.
positivity.
It's like, right. We can all be beautiful. We don't have to represent the magazine model image that we've all been taught to try to emulate.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a big part of especially neo-burlesque. You were talking about Gypsy Rose Lee earlier, and she's definitely a burlesque icon. And when you look at the success and the pathway of particularly women coming out of vaudeville, and burlesque being one of those pathways for a lot of those artists, I think that part of revealing that is part of burlesque, it was kind of idealized to a certain body style even back then. And there is still that aesthetic to burlesque. You can still find the very, I kind of call it, and probably erroneously, but I call it the Vegas showgirl kind of style of burlesque, where you can find that kind of ideal body style. You can find that glitz and glamour and everything. That still exists today. But what's beautiful about burlesque is, especially following the rebirth of burlesque in the 1990s, you find that diversity and that increase in representation on stage has become so important to our community. Burlesque, going back to that, those female vaudeville artists, it has always been the, how do I want to say this? It has always kind of been the outsider form of art. Like, we're taking our clothes off a lot of times. We're revealing things that are surprising or can make our audiences feel uncomfortable. And I think part of that story from the beginning has meant that we are kind of involved in a lot of marginalized communities. There's a lot of LGBTQ in burlesque, and now, especially now more than ever, there's a lot more representation in all sorts of other ways: body type, skin color, everything. And so I think having that kind of mentality that we come from a family that is more or less kind of on the outskirts, we are marginalized a little bit more than other forms of artistic expression or expression in general. It has become important as part of this neo-burlesque movement that we are inclusive of everybody. And I love seeing that reflected more than ever. And I hope that we continue to see increased representation on stage, because that's very important. And what's incredibly rewarding about that to me is having people come up to me after the show that I wouldn't necessarily expect, or maybe that I witnessed while I was performing and felt like, oh, maybe this person is probably not enjoying this show, or has mixed emotions or reservations or some kind of hesitancy about them. Having that person come up to me after the show, or maybe I approach them saying, thank you for coming to the show, I'm glad you were here. You know, they'll share with me, like, I'm exactly what you just said. Like, I was surprised to see myself on stage. I didn't know that body type could do that.
Right.
I felt like this person was so sexy, even though it's a type of person that I wouldn't necessarily feel like society puts on the front of a magazine cover.
Exactly.
And that kind of stuff. So that's an extremely rewarding part of it, to be honest with you. Like, I love that part of burlesque, and it's definitely a mission of myself as a producer to continue having that representation on stage and continue blowing people's minds in the best way.
Yeah.
I love making my audiences uncomfortable, but not just facing their own sense of sexuality during a performance, also in terms of what they're viewing as sexy and what they're being confronted with.
I really feel like it wasn't like what I saw with your show. I didn't feel like it was over the top. I feel like it was a tease and there was nothing like, I never saw anybody's private parts. It was it's like the what if, you know.
It was classy.
It was very classy and it was beautiful and great dancing. I just wish everyone could see it once, because everyone's ready to judge right away.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see that. That is not acceptable. And you don't know until you've seen it. And I think it's really important for those performers too to feel accepted and to feel loved.
Exactly.
And there's moments where I was like, could I do that? And then I was thinking, I don't know. You know, and there was a moment of like, my husband would love it if I could do that.
Right. Maybe we just practice at home.
Well, yeah, it is extremely empowering. It's an empowering art form.
It really is.
And I think a lot of the good burlesque performers that we see really succeeding in our art form are doing it for themselves. They you know, I can speak to my own experience, which is I can tell you for certain that I started out, especially being in synchronized choreography, I started out performing for the approval of others. And I had to go through the journey of shifting into that mode of being like, this isn't what that's about or why I'm doing this. I'm actually doing this to tell my story, and I'm not going to be telling my story effectively if I'm doing it for the approval of others. This is for myself. So I think
it's like any artist.
Yeah.
Any artist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, that's what makes it so enjoyable to watch or to see or whatever it is. I love that. So in the Coeur d'Alene show, that's really that group of performers. I mean, we had a couple of performers from Chicago, a couple of performers from Boise, and then a performer from Spokane, and myself from Walla Walla. And just having that intersection, it was the perfect cast. I mean, we had moments of just empowerment in a very skin color matters kind of way, and then we also had empowerment in, you know, different body styles taking their clothes off in a very glamorous classic way. My hope, just like with any show, is that it truly redefined that for people, like what is glamour, what is sexy, all that kind of stuff.
It certainly did for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I already kind of felt that way anyway, but that was just like a oh my God moment.
That's awesome to hear.
Well, what's interesting is I was looking up what is burlesque earlier, and you know, it talks about a lot of things, but I think my favorite line from this is, while it can involve clothing removal, it doesn't always, emphasizing instead self-expression, body positivity, and storytelling through dance and performance. So if you think about it in those terms, it's really just a performance like any other performance. It just happens to be burlesque instead of acting, or you know what I mean?
I think burlesque in and of itself, the word comes from the word parody. And so there's really no no reveal necessary in burlesque for it to be burlesque. Although I will say that I more often than not find a reveal is part of the act, even if it's not clothing related. It can be a comedic storyline. It can be, I mean, I've seen confetti, I've seen trombones pulled out at the very end. I'm not even kidding. And so there's all these different sorts of ways to reveal something that's unexpected to the audience. And so I personally feel like a lot of the burlesque, maybe I'm manufacturing it in my mind, but for me, almost every act that I've seen is some type of reveal to the audience, whether it's clothing or not.
Greetings, listeners of the Allie and Callie Artcast podcast. This is Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. Keeping art alive and culture relevant is the heart and soul of our community of creatives. And as a local coffee roaster who loves a good origin story of a painter or a farmer or a musician, we proudly support the Allie and Callie's Artcast podcast's expansion and exploration through positive conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, preferably one from Tubbs Coffee Roasters, and tune in, humans. Your ears will thank you.
Add a little flair to your special events with Scraps Barbecue, a great catering choice for your next gathering. Specializing in golf tournaments, sporting events, weddings, and other family friend gatherings, their commercial kitchen can be on site, or you can choose to have a fully catered meal delivered right to you. Known for their authentic Santa Maria style tri-tip and tequila lime fish tacos, they can customize the menu to meet your needs for groups of 20 to 2,500. Contact Kevin at kevin@scrapsbarbecue.com or check them out on Facebook. Holly, how do you put together a show?
It's evolved a lot over the years. I produce a lot more variety style burlesque shows. I do a few bigger burlesque shows every year, as well as some co-productions with one of my favorite people in the entire world, the Rockabilly Barbie from over in the Seattle Bremerton area, and hopefully many more in the future.
I think I know who that is.
Do you? She does do Kitsap County pinup stuff.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
So,
we'll talk later.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
She's amazing. And so I love working with her. But when I'm putting together a show, nowadays I just have to be very strategic about planning when that's going to be, because the entertainment industry as a whole is facing a little bit of a slump, I would say, as people are more conservative with their money. And so there's more competition all the time to get a full audience, unfortunately. But I think we're all very respectful and very positively aggressive in doing that. How about that?
Right.
But I will say, so, picking the right dates when you can get an audience that it will really make it an impactful show. And then it's really, for me, the most fun part of it is coming up with the theme and then the imagery for that. So I've become somewhat of a master in Canva at this point. I know how to do pretty much everything, and I do all my own posters and stuff like that. And so, for example, my next production coming up is October 11th, and then I also have shows on October 24th and 25th. And I knew that all of those shows I wanted to make spooky themed. And as a producer and a performer, another thing I like to pay attention to is I want to, our acts take a lot of time, energy, and creativity to put together. Every burlesque artist, we're not only putting together the choreography, the musicality to it, we're putting together the costumes top to bottom. A lot of times we're embellishing those costumes ourselves, spending hours and hours. What I was actually doing right before this, rhinestoning costumes.
Yeah.
So as a producer, if you're able to replicate a theme a little bit, then you can make the most money out of every act and hopefully reuse those acts over and over again so that they pay for themselves over time and hopefully become a little bit profitable, if that makes sense, as an artist.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew that all three of these shows were going to be spooky themed, and I, at the same time, want to make sure that I attract each audience in a unique way. And marketing and promotion is a huge part of what I'm focusing on with every show. And so you only have like a fraction of a second to stop people from scrolling by as they're going through their social media. I'm sure you all are aware of this.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we'd like to figure out how to get them to
How
stop scrolling by us.
Dang it.
So you really have to come up with an immediate impact image, title, all that kind of stuff. So I decided that I wanted to call this show House of Horrors, but I'm going to put a W in front of the word horrors, and kind of make a play on that kind of side of thing. And I think that the tagline is Under the Spell of Burlesque. And so
I love that.
it lets people know that it's a burlesque show, but still has that immediate like, whoa, what was that?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Right.
And then it comes to, of course, booking and putting the show together. And that's probably actually the most fun part. I said it was the theme, but this is actually the most fun part, is booking, deciding who's going to make the most impact in that kind of setting. And so I have had the absolute honor of working with so many burlesque artists across the United States in my career. I've had many artists from Chicago, San Antonio, California, New York, all over that come through Washington that I've been able to perform with and just have the absolute honor of meeting. And through my experience, I've learned who I really like to work with. And I will say that there's nobody that I've ever worked with that I don't want to work with, but I just know who's available.
That's great.
And maybe I'm lucky, knock on wood, but that is the absolute truth, is I've never worked with anybody in my career that I would be like, I'm not going to work with that person again. So I am fortunate enough to have enough connections that I have a good group of performers that I love and perform with and book in my shows probably at least once a year. And I just try to be equitable in how I kind of rotate through people that I am friends with in the community and who I've successfully worked with in the past. And at this point, it actually does get to the point where it's like once a year sometimes, unfortunately, because I have so many people that I'm fortunate enough to know. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then I get to kind of, in my mind be like, okay, so if I'm going back to this show coming up, it's like, who are the gothic kind of like spooky characters that I want to see on stage? Selfishly, I want them in my show, so I'm going to reach out to them. And so that's exactly what I did. I've got a great cast. Another part of my mission in booking, though, is I have always really loved, from when I started producing, including people from all different experience levels in the show.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have like almost novices coming in.
Working with seasoned burlesque stars that everybody knows. And I think that's so much fun for the audience, first of all, to see all the different forms of expression. But also, backstage, there's no other experience like that, especially for those who are newer to the art form. So I am very intentional, and also absolutely different styles of representation on stage is absolutely important. I don't want everybody to look the same. I don't want everyone to have the same style of dance, and I don't want everyone to portray the same life experience on stage. I want that to be diverse, as diverse as possible. And then it really comes to, putting all the components of the show together. I will need an MC for the show, or I'm going to MC it myself. I'm going to need typically 5 to 6 performers for a show, and that's to put together a 10 to 12 act production, because I have each performer perform twice.
Right.
Again, it comes down to making the most of our time. If they're coming out to do my show that night, I hope that they can have a little bit more time on stage. So the DJ, the sound technician, the venue, all of those pieces have to be in order, and that requires a lot of the networking and communication skills that I'm fortunate enough to have from my career in real life, my Muggle career.
Right. I love that Muggle career.
My Muggle job. So I think once all those things come together, you really have to be very organized as a producer. You have to have extremely great communication with all of the people involved in your show, especially your performers. You kind of have to have an intuition to make sure that your show is going to come together in a good way. You know, there's always a risk that you're working with people who maybe haven't shown up to every show, but I really still love. And so you want to have a good mix of, if you have someone like that in your cast, you may also want to make sure you have a few people who are very consistently at every show. So you're just kind of being intuitive on multiple levels. Okay, so then it comes to putting the show together, which is super fun, like putting the acts in order and things like that. The way I do it, and I'm sure there's many other and probably better ways of doing this, but I am very heartfelt about it. So I collect all of the information from my performers, and the week of the show is typically when I sit down. I'll make a playlist on Spotify with everybody's music that they're performing to, and I just listen to it. and I'm reading, the details about their act on the computer, and I'm just kind of feeling it out. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a fan dance with bright colors and the music is upbeat, but in this half of the show, we have maybe 3 upbeat routines and 2 really slow, sensual routines. So I would probably chop that up and go back and forth so that there's no lull from the audience. They kind of get energized and then more sensuous again and energized again. So I just kind of feel it out, and sometimes it doesn't always go as planned, and so it's just kind of a leap of faith. Like sometimes I'm putting it together and nothing feels right, and I'm like, you know what, this is what we're going to do, and I think the MC is going to tie it together. We'll tell a joke between this act and this act that'll make the irony apparent or whatever, and just keep it going. And at the end of the day, I think with burlesque, people are having a great time. So I don't know that anybody really notices, like, oh, could the show have been in a better order?
right, yeah.
True. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I absolutely loved doing during that show that we saw was throwing the money. I liked the fact that you're not tucking it in like you do at,
I don't know,
like your drag shows,
or whatever.
Yeah.
You're tossing it, so there's no actual human
touch.
Yeah, human touch.
You're encouraged not to.
It was really funny to see the broom come and just kind of sweep up the money.
Sweep up the money.
But my favorite part was I was trying to throw the dollars, and the dollars weren't quite getting there, so I started turning them into little paper airplanes. Just to get them in there.
Yeah.
That is totally fine. We never discriminate against how the money comes on the stage.
As long as it comes
Keep the money coming.
Right.
Perfect answer.
Yeah.
That was a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Nor the numbers on the money. We don't discriminate against that
just
either.
any high dollars accepted. Yeah.
It is super fun, and that is a difference, because at a strip club, I would say it's appropriate probably either way, whether you want to just place your money on the stage or if you have permission to put it in the dancer's G-string or whatever. At a drag show, it's very standard for when you tip, you hold it out, and you want the drag performer to come around and take it out of your hand and have a little bit of a moment with you.
Right.
Oh,
And so we get that sometimes in burlesque, where people are holding out their dollars and they're really disappointed when you walk by and don't
grab it.
But I hope that people understand or don't get offended by that, because truly with burlesque, it is a little bit more choreography based, so it may not be a moment in our choreography that we're able to offer to like sit there and take $1 out of your hand. Typically with burlesque, it is tossing the money, or in some venues you will see what we call our stage kittens, which are our sexy little stage help, coming around with buckets to collect tips between acts and stuff like that.
Because it's a dance performance.
Right.
It's not I don't want to say it's not a striptease. We're not talking poles. It's completely different. People.
And there's lots of pole artists in my shows, but yes, I would agree that it is more of a storytelling process when it comes to like burlesque and cabaret style stuff. And it comes down to that storytelling process may not offer that moment of coming out and having a moment with the audience, whether it's taking money or acknowledging a presence or whatever it is. Yeah.
For all your screen printing needs, trust the local you can count on. Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.
Specializing in screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, and stickers. For all jobs, big and small, just give Eric a call.
Email us at info@pyramidprintingcda.com or give us a call at 208-664-0254.
pyramidprintingcda.com.
Ever feel like work and life are pulling you in opposite directions?
You are not alone. That's why we created Thrive, Learn, Connect, a podcast where personal growth meets professional success.
Each week, we share real conversations, insights, and actionable takeaways to help you navigate life and work with more ease, joy, and purpose.
Whether it's managing stress, building better relationships, or finding balance, we are here to help you thrive.
Listen to Thrive, Learn, Connect wherever you get your podcasts, because growth starts with connection.
So you have shows coming up. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, I'm getting a little busy for the fall season. I'm actually going to be performing with an amazing group in Boise, Idaho called Femme Bomb Follies. And that's going to be September 19th and 20th at the Visual Arts Collective. It's called Tales from the Strip. So
fun.
It's Tales from the Crypt kind of theme, if you will.
That's great.
I may or may not be vamping it up on the stage. And then I have a show coming up in Everett, Washington on October 4th, and that is Rock and Roll Burlesque with the Anthony Brock Music Group. And that is always an incredibly fun show. It's at Tony V's Garage, which is a amazing, almost historic concert venue that I love performing at. And there's going to be rock and roll musicians and bands, as well as burlesque artists. So it's a cool mashup of those two worlds. I'm also performing and producing a show on October 11th in Salem, Oregon at the Bad Space, and on October 24th in Kennewick, Washington at Blackthorn Pub, and October 25th here in Walla Walla, Washington, my favorite place to perform and produce, at the Beer Parlor. And all of those are going to be incredibly fun, spooky goth lineups that I can't wait to see come together.
Oh, fun.
And now, do you, I know you mentioned to us earlier that you also teach burlesque?
Yes, I love, one of the most rewarding things about doing burlesque that I have done, although reluctantly, ironically, is started teaching. And so I've had the absolute honor of working with a few incredibly talented souls I probably have been teaching here in Walla Walla for about 2.5 years, twice a month, and that class pattern has evolved over time to now where I'm working with some intermediate and advanced students who are going to be performing on stage with me in some of my shows. So
that's great.
Yeah, I have seen so many different reactions as an instructor in burlesque. It's only been women and female presenting people who have come and taken my class. So when I say women, that's what I'm referencing is my unique experience. But from the women who have come into my class, and I've seen women who cry, and I've seen women who really don't let themselves participate. They, maybe laugh and giggle at themselves the whole time. And all of those different reactions and everything in between are completely okay. But it has been so eye-opening just teaching sensuality to people. And it is oftentimes when they're taking, especially my introductory classes, the first time that they have tapped into that sense of sensuality within themselves and allowed themselves to express that. Or I guess maybe I have given them permission or instruction to express that. Seeing the different responses to that has been such an unexpected reward in the teaching process.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's incredible to see all the different backgrounds and experiences. It's very empowering. Again, coming back to that sense of what it should feel like on stage, what you're seeing on stage is very empowering. Coming in and trying burlesque for the first time in a class is extremely empowering. And you never know, if you've never really empowered yourself in that way before, you may react unexpectedly. It's been very eye-opening to see that happen across many different personalities. And also extremely rewarding to have a few students who have decided that they want to actually pursue this. Makes me feel a little bit maternal, which is not an uncommon theme in burlesque and drag. There's very much a maternal kind of sensation that happens with newer artists and very well-seasoned artists, kind of like, well, let me show you the way. Let me give you some connections and that kind of thing. And so that's been really, really cool. I didn't expect to have these rewards come out of teaching. I didn't want to start teaching, and I had enough people ask me to teach in Walla Walla that I said, all right, I'm going to start doing it. And then now it's been something that I'm unexpectedly happy about.
So the classes aren't necessarily about going out and then taking that talent to the stage. The classes are more about just building your self-esteem or whatever it is that you get out of the class.
Yeah.
Just to know more about it. So I love that.
Yeah, burlesque is an extremely vulnerable art form, and when you approach performing, whether it's on stage or maybe just for your spouse, or honestly, a lot of times maybe just for yourself in the mirror and your own criticisms, that's a very intimidating thing for a lot of people because it is such a vulnerable expression. And so there is a lot more than just the physical movement side to burlesque, and I do like to teach that. There are some classes I teach that are really just about choreography and physical movement, but that still involves, kind of having a certain expression on your face, moving in a certain way so that you do tap into that still. But I also have many, many classes where the mentality is part of the instruction. And I've even taught classes on imposter syndrome, just working through a cognitive behavioral therapy exercise, which I must admit I excerpted from taking a class at Burlesque, which is a huge burlesque conference that happens in Seattle every year. And Jezebel Express, who is an incredible traveling performer, taught a showgirl mentality class, and she did a cognitive behavioral therapy exercise on imposter syndrome that stuck with me so strongly that through over the years I lost exactly what her exercise was, but I did my best to try to find replacement instruction that hit on the same thing, which is really, you have a lot mentally to overcome if you're going to be in such a vulnerable place on stage and reveal something to people, whatever that is. It takes a lot of mental work too. So that is an important part of my instruction as well.
That's great.
Yeah, all
so
that.
Where do you see yourself with burlesque? How long do you see yourself doing this, and what's your expectations of burlesque?
Well, I think you can probably Google how old Dita Von Teese is, and she is probably the celebrity. I'm not going to say it, but she is probably the biggest celebrity burlesque dancer out there, and gives, I think, a lot of us insight into how long you can really keep this going, and you can keep it going. And I probably will keep it going for as long as I can, performance-wise. I will say that one of the reasons I started producing, or one of the things I love most about producing, is the idea that I can take it beyond my years of performing and still be involved in this art form, still help those who hopefully I have helped to carry it on. And going back to teaching classes, that's another thing that I would love to see in Walla Walla particularly. We have recently been named the Creative District of Washington.
I love that.
And I would love to see this art form continue in Walla Walla and grow. And so in teaching and kind of compiling this group of students who have a heightened interest in continuing it on, I sincerely hope that I can build something production-wise and just mentoring-wise where that is something that is carried on, whether it is Holly Dolly Burlesque or whoever carries it on, or whatever company it is, or whatever vision that is. That would be the most rewarding thing, is to build enough of a community out of this here in Walla Walla and in Eastern Washington that it continues to develop and grow. And I sincerely hope to see that done in such a way that representation continues to grow on stage in Eastern Washington.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if they want to find you, where do they find you, Holly?
You can find me on my website, which is hollydollyburlesque.com. Holly Dolly Burlesque, all one word. That's also how you can find me on most social media. I'm most strong presence on Instagram and Facebook. You can find all of my upcoming and latest shows and all of the fun behind the scenes photos and all of my pinup work on my social media accounts.
It's really interesting to explore a totally different art form. It's fun. To me, it's more than just performance. It's kind of a mental health thing, too. It's really cool.
I always say, just real quick, I always like to say that, when it comes to, I think burlesque encapsulates the unique sense of feminine power. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but we expect men to express their sense of unique masculine power every day in our business worlds and everywhere. They're more often the decision makers. They're more often represent strength and stability, and I think it is oftentimes stigmatized when women express their sense of unique power. And I think burlesque is blasting through that and saying, that's bullshit. We are here to express the unique sense of feminine power in such a strong way that it may make you feel uncomfortable, and I kind of hope it does. And so that's where the empowerment comes from. And I hope that if people are thinking about this or have been intrigued by burlesque in the past, that you take a class, sign up for a class and just walk into one and just try it for once. You'll know right away whether you like it or not. So don't worry about that. Just go in and try it and give it a try. I think that's the best way to go about it.
I love that. I love that.
Or go see a show.
Right.
Check out Holly Dolly.
Please.
Exactly. Go. I mean, that's the first step. Go check it out, and
I think you'll
if it's
enjoy
something
it.
that intrigues you, then keep going.
It's really, it's great.
Oh, well, Holly, thank you so much.
Yes.
This has been such a treat.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah, it's been super fun talking about this. I appreciate it.
I know. I can't wait to have you come back to Coeur d'Alene, or maybe the next time we come to Walla Walla, we'll be able to incorporate one of your shows.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
Yeah, we loved it.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I hope you are able to make it, and I will surely be back in Coeur d'Alene again sometime.
All right.
Yay.
Excellent.
Yay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so great. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Well, don't forget to like, share,
follow, subscribe
to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
.com.
You can find us at AllieCallieArtcast.com. So I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. And whatever you do today, make sure it's creative.
All right, go try something new.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is brought to you by Tubbs Coffee Roasters, ethically sourced, locally roasted coffee, and Pyramid Printing and Embroidery, serving customers near and far for over 2 decades.